What's up guys, my name is Rico and this is Suave Tech. I'm bringing tech in a simple way, and today I wanted to talk to you about the Galaxy Z Fold 3. Before that I say anything else, I want to say that I appreciate everybody for watching. I appreciate those people that are subscribed. Even if you're not subscribed, again, I appreciate you watching. I have been MIA for a little bit, had some things going on, but I'm back. So one of the first things I want to talk about is that when you get this phone, if you pre-ordered it, obviously you got a couple of cases. I got the Armid case, and then I also got this case, the one that actually has the S Pen that attaches to it. I want to obviously say a few things about that, and then I also want to talk to you guys a little bit about my experience these past few weeks with the Galaxy Z Fold 3. So first off, there's not much of an unboxing for this phone. When you get the phone, you literally just get the phone presented to you first thing when you open the box, and then you get some paperwork and you get the charging cables. Nothing real big there. I think it would have been nice, and I know a lot of people have already harped on this, but I think it's important that you guys know, you're spending about $1,800 for this phone, less if you have a trade-in phone, but I think it's really important that you get some kind of extra with that. I think throwing in a pair of Galaxy Buds wouldn't have been a bad idea, or even some regular headphones, something to kind of give you that extra. But I will tell you, when I unboxed this phone for the first time, I was amazed. I mean, this phone looks a lot bigger when you're actually watching videos and stuff of it, but I was pleasantly surprised at the fact that it's a lot thinner, especially when it's open. Obviously, when you have it folded closed, it's gonna present itself as a lot bigger, thicker than a regular phone. Another point I wanted to make is that this is my first folding phone. I skipped out on the first Z Fold, or rather the Fold, and then I also skipped out on the Fold 2. And one of the reasons I did that, and one of the big reasons that I actually got the Z Fold 3, were a couple of things. The first thing is going to be the S Pen support. That's one of those things where, after a while, the Note kind of did get small. It looked a lot more elongated than I would have liked for a Note, and it just didn't feel like a Note anymore. Phones are getting a lot bigger, not just in Samsung's lineup, but you look at other phones like the iPhone 12 Pro Max, and then you look at phones, just across the board, Android phones, they're getting a lot bigger. They're getting a lot closer to what the Note series intended to be, to the point where you actually have some people like Motorola coming out with S Pens for their own phones. I was kind of looking for something that felt more like a Note, and I feel like when you open up this phone, you feel like you're writing on a notebook. It's not perfect. You do still have the crease in the middle, which over time it does kind of diminish when you're looking at the screen. It is a little interesting to write over that, but it's not a huge deal for me. And then the second thing that I was actually looking for when it came to the Z Fold was water resistance. Now this is a huge thing, and I'm glad that they actually made it possible on the Z Fold 3 to have water resistance. It's still not dust resistant. It's IPX8, so the last number is actually water resistance in that, and then the X means that it doesn't have dust resistance. So things like sand, gravel, dirt, all those different things are going to be able to get inside your phone over time and actually get under the screen like it has in the past, and can damage your screens. I would really keep it away from things like that. No, big thing that a lot of people have been saying is like the beach. Don't bring this phone to the beach. If you work at a job where you're working like construction, something like that, I would not get this phone. Some of the differences that I've actually experienced between a regular phone and this phone is huge, and that is actually deciding which screen you're gonna use. The outer display does take a little bit of getting used to. It's a lot slimmer, as a lot of people have said, it's kind of like that candy bar style. It can be a little weird at first to actually use that screen. Things that I use that screen for, like checking emails real quick, even if it's a notification from Instagram. I might even go ahead and check Snapchat. But a big thing is like messages. If I'm gonna message somebody really quickly, I either do it from my watch or I do it from that outer display on the Z Fold 3. One of the reasons that I actually don't mind it that much is once you get used to it, it's not that hard to type on. I know I've heard a lot of people, and a lot of people use just, their thumbs to type. I use swipe on my phones, even the iPhone. It doesn't really matter to me as much. One of the great things actually that carried over from upgrading from the Note 20 Ultra to this phone is that when I put everything on the Z Fold, it actually remembered words that I use, and I put it in their dictionary, and it made it a lot easier to type. If you're somebody like me who uses swipe, I don't think it's that big of a deal, and I got pretty big hands. If you're typing how a lot of iPhone users, I would say, type, then that's going to be a bit of a challenge for you. I would also say even typing when the phone is fully open is a little bit of a challenge, and the reason being is because the keyboard is split down the middle. It took a little bit of getting used to for me, but I got used to it. It's not a huge deal. You can also still use swipe with that, which is in my opinion, great. But moving on. Another big concern of yours for getting this phone might be durability. With me, it was definitely a concern. I didn't want to drop it, crack the screen. I didn't want to get any dust or dirt inside and underneath the screen. But they did a pretty good job. Like I said, you have that IPX8 rating. Water, splash here. Say you can dunk it in water, although I would not suggest that. You can dunk it in a 1 meter of water for 30 minutes. So I did drop this phone accidentally. I know, it's terrible. But one of the great things is I did get one of those cases, the Army case that looks like it's carbon fiber. I was really quite impressed with it. Dropped it, it was in its fully open state, and after I dropped it, it landed on the sides. It did what it was supposed to do. As you can see here on the sides, it's scuffed up. It didn't damage the screen. It didn't land flat on the big screen. It didn't land on the back, so everything was good. There's no scratches or anything on it. There's no cracks, chips, anything like that. Durability wise, I think you'll be all right as long as you're not one of those people that drops their phones often or does things with your phone that you're not supposed to be doing. Like, I definitely wouldn't take this phone out trying to vlog while you're surfing or anything like that. But in the day-to-day use, I think that you'll actually be all right. Now, when it comes to the S Pen, a lot of people either love it or hate it. Some people might actually use it a lot, some people might not. I'm not gonna lie, when on my Note product, I actually didn't use it a ton. However, I feel like I've used it a lot. I mean, obviously I just got the phone, so once you first get something, you're gonna use it a lot. But I also feel like I'm gonna use it a lot with this bigger screen. Now, for me, it's not a huge deal that it doesn't fit in the phone itself. One of the things that I appreciate is that it is a bigger S Pen. I mean, even if you have smaller hands, that S Pen is really thin and it's not comfortable to use for long periods of time, whereas this one, it feels closer to a pencil. It's not as long as a pencil, and I would say it's kind of a slightly less thick than a pencil, but it's just closer to that actual pen or pencil feel, and I appreciate that. I will say with the case that carries the S Pen, it's not that great. I did use the case that holds the S Pen for a little bit. There's some people that said it was absolutely horrendous. I'm not one of those people, and while it's not the best solution for having an S Pen that doesn't fit in the phone, I will say that at least they tried. Hopefully they get better from here. A few things that I love about this phone are, one, the inner screen. It's one of the best screens that I've ever seen, especially for watching things like YouTube, even Snapchat, Instagram. It is a lot bigger, and sometimes things don't quite fit on the page. Let's say Pokemon Go, for instance, a lot of it is cropped off on the bottom, and so it's sometimes hard to use an app. Hopefully those can be fixed with an update, and I hope that a lot more developers are looking at this phone as something that is a viable option to make their app work on. That being said, when you have the big screen open, you can use it with multiple apps. You can have one on the right side, one on the left side. You can also even have a third app open. I don't use that as often now. I'm trying to use it more, but I do use just two apps side by side a lot. And then playing games. Now, I don't play games a lot. I do play games like Asphalt 9 and Pokemon Go, but I'm really not a big mobile gamer. But I will say that I'm pleasantly surprised by the fact that Asphalt 9 actually does fit the aspect ratio of the screen. You can either leave the app in the aspect ratio that's supposed to be in, or you can go ahead and do like I do and just make every app full screen. You'll go into settings, you'll go under advanced features. On the right hand side, you're gonna see labs. When you click on labs, you're gonna see something that says customize aspect ratio. Now, the unfortunate part is that you do have to go into each app and force it into full screen. However, one of the things that I figured out, even without forcing every single app into full screen, a lot of them have pretty much done that. And for apps like Snapchat, I don't really want full screen because it's probably going to crop the top and the bottom. It's not going to look as good. Sometimes when you're splitting the screen, you're going to see a little pop-up on one of the apps that says the app may not work properly in this setting. I haven't had any issues with the app working properly on split screen. It does just fine. If somebody out there has had an issue with that, go ahead, leave a comment below. Let me know which app has trouble in that split screen mode. But overall, I like the big screen experience. Now I'll talk about some of the challenges that I had with this phone. Initially, I did have a challenge with the outer screen. Sometimes it didn't recognize when I started on a letter. Like I said, I used swipe. As I've gotten used to it, it hasn't been a huge issue. However, initially it was really hard to get used to, and things are really small on that screen. I don't think it's gonna be so bad that you don't want this phone. I think that if you really want to see something a lot bigger, you go ahead, open up the screen, no problem. Another issue that I had with this phone was the fact that it is a dust magnet. Now it's kind of scary. This is IPX8 resistance, and that X means that it's not rated for dust. So they do a lot of things to keep the dust out. They have those two little rubber pieces on the top and the bottom where the screen folds. That is pretty fixed in place, so it tries to keep the dust out. It also has brushes on the inside on each side of the hinge to kind of keep that dust and debris out, but it still would be nice to have a dust rating. And it's really interesting. They kind of did a little bit of a workaround to get it water resistant, but they don't have dust resistance. When I put it in my pocket after I take it out, you know, even if I'm walking maybe a couple of blocks, I'll take it out. The front screen has a lot of dust on it. The inner screen has a huge amount of dust on it. I have pets too, so sometimes there's little bits of hair on there. And then the fingerprint situation with the inner screen is pretty bad. I mean, if you don't want to carry around a microfiber cloth, you know, it's newer technology. I'm not going to complain too much about it. It's just something that I wanted to know for you guys, just in case you were wondering, and you like to keep your phones clean like I do. My final thoughts on this phone: this is one of the best phones that I've ever used. One of the reasons I say that, despite the fact that it has camera issues, despite the fact that it has dust attraction issues, I know it sounds cliche, but this phone attracts dust like a magnet. And the fact that you have to be a little bit more careful with this, I would say durability wise, it's decent. My fears as far as dropping this phone once and it completely shattering have been resolved. Like I said, I dropped it. I did have the armored case that you get from Samsung. It definitely stopped the size of my phone from being scuffed up. If you are somebody who drops their phone on a daily basis, this is not the phone for you. I would go with something more durable. Like I said previously in the video, you're not going to be disappointed at all when you're watching YouTube, when you're watching anything like Netflix, even when you're playing games. This phone is, for me, a game changer. It's also really great for multitasking. And one of the things I forgot to mention, there's a camera on the inner display. Is it the best at hiding it? Obviously not. Is it as bad as some people have made it out to be? For me, not at all. If you're looking for it, you can definitely see the pixels over that camera. I would say in certain colors, like very bright colors and white, you're going to be able to see those pixels a lot easier. If you're watching a video or something's moving across the screen, it does a lot better at hiding that. But again, it's something that you get used to, just like a lot of people got used to the notch. And I know there's a lot of you out there that are used to that notch, and you really don't see it anymore. I mean, heck, I even got used to the notch. If that's been one of the huge hangups for you getting this phone, don't worry about it. You have an outside selfie camera on the front screen. You have those three 12 megapixel cameras on the back that you can actually flip around and take a selfie with. And then lastly, for me, the S Pen, like I said before in my video, it doesn't fit into the actual phone itself. That's not the biggest deal for me. The case is okay. And I actually, again, switch back to the armored case. I'll probably dust off the S Pen case every now and again just to change it up a little bit, but I would at least like it to adhere somewhere magnetically onto the phone. So that's all I got for you guys. I really appreciate you being here with me. I appreciate my subscribers and the people that aren't subscribed watching my video. If you have any questions, leave them below in the comment section. I will definitely get back to you. I'll let you know maybe a little bit more of my experience with the phone. I'm out.